So Nick and Alandria ended 2025 on top of the world. They were on the cover of Glamour. They were seen any and everywhere on all of the red carpets. But 2026 has begun with a lot of drama and controversy, including a manufactured video of Nick saying the N-word. And I've even seen rumors online of a hit being placed on Alandria. Once again, anything I tell you all, this is not just celebrity news. This is a microcosm of how the world affects you. This has to do with racial hierarchy and jealousy of Alandria's specific brand of beauty and what she has attracted. Namely, jealousy of the fairy tale that she's living with Nick. Fans will often try to push, pull, manipulate, or force their person that they are fanning out over into living their ideal romantic life. You saw it with Robert Pattinson when he was engaged to FKA Twigs. His fans were racist bullies to her and to him until he eventually broke off the relationship and married somebody who they approved of, someone who they could picture in their place. Oh, it's fine if he's with her because she looks like me. I don't think a lot of you realize how deep these parasocial relationships go. When Taylor Swift got engaged last year, some of her fans were literally tweeting, "Oh, it's fine now if I never get married because Taylor got married and that's just enough for both of us." These people are insane. But they literally see that person as their representative on the field of life, and what's happening to that person is happening to them. So to see a fairy tale happening to someone who looks like Alandria not only upends their worldview, it completely interrupts all of the other programming they've been given. Because when these women have been looking at any kind of content before, whether it's The Bachelorette, whether it's a Disney movie, it's a rom-com, it's someone who looks like them, their representative, getting happily ever after. And when Black women are included in these spaces or those franchises, often the story is not as wonderful, it's not as soft, it's not as romantic. For example, Tiana in the Disney movie, instead of being a princess, is a frog for most of the damn thing. And then she ends up having a restaurant, so she's still working hard. So that's okay. It's not an affront to their vision of what life is typically like. But Alandria is really living a dream. She's getting all of these fantastic contracts. She's in all of these spaces. And then, of course, she is just incredibly beautiful with a perfect figure and an absolutely gorgeous face. There's no way to say this is not an enviable situation. And this is why you see people trying to interrupt it, trying to take her down. It's been very obvious with the woke swatting. Woke swatting is a term I coined, and you can go back and check out my full video here on YouTube about it. But long story short, it is when the public tries to invent things to get upset about, to have an excuse to cancel a person that they don't like under the guise of doing the right thing. In Alandria's case, one example would be the sunglasses challenge. She did not invent the sunglasses challenge. Girls were putting sunglasses on their waist. And remember when white girls were putting headphones on their waist in 2024. But anyway, they were putting sunglasses on their waist. She did the trend. And next thing you know, people were saying, "Oh, you're promoting EDs and body shaming and fat phobia and blah, blah, blah." And they got the whole thing taken down from TikTok. They were demanding apologies, and then they were like, "And you should cancel her because she promotes negative body image for girls." But they didn't cancel the non-Black woman who invented the sunglasses trend. They were all doing the headphones trend, including some very famous influencer. It's an excuse to cut you out without having to say what they really want to say, which is that they're racist. And that's part of the reason they've manufactured this video of Nick saying the N-word. Because I knew as soon as it happened, as soon as it hit social media and you heard all of this logic, "Oh, well, Huda got canceled for doing this and for doing that with the N-word, so now Nick should get canceled." And then what? By association, they can cancel Alandria. People are getting smarter. They're not going to say that they don't like her for no reason. They're not going to try to use the old stereotypes of, "Oh, she's an angry Black woman," or whatever. They are going to try to invent and manufacture some reason why you don't deserve to be in this position because they don't want you to have it. They are uncomfortable with you thriving. So it's going to come in the form of woke swatting, of sabotage, or even covert threats of violence. But this is not me pointing the finger across the aisle and saying the danger is over there, because Black people do the same exact thing. The demographics and some black women have been waiting for this relationship to fail since day one so they can say, I told you so. And it's all down to what Alandria herself called out. She said, dark-skinned black women being yearned for and loved out loud by someone that looks like Nick. You don't see this often. And you can even take out the part that says by someone who looks like Nick. Dark-skinned black women being yearned for and loved out loud. You don't see this often. Like, this is the world conspiring to keep you in your place. The first place where you see this idea that you are not lovable, that you're never going to have a happy ending, it comes from your own community and from the shows you grew up watching. You're fed a message that if you go outside, your relationship is going to turn toxic, it's going to fail, and it's going to be your fault, your own fault for thinking you could get something better than neglect, mistreatment, and abuse. Your relationship with the white man will fail. That's what black women are told every day. We're seeing more black women divesting, leveling up, choosing themselves, 4B movement, whatever you want to call it. But because black men and their supporters are feeling the heat, we also see lots of anti-black women and other man propaganda. It's meant to scare you back into your place. As I said so many times before, media is not just entertainment, it's communication. It represents the ideal. The fantasy world people wish was reality. That's why people are much more attractive and intelligent than your average person, and why people there typically live happily ever after. It's also used as a means to influence people's values. Black women set the trend. Everybody knows this. And recently, a number of high-profile black women have married or dated interracially. Hence the spate of anti-interracial relationship propaganda for black women. The myths about black women and non-black men keep evolving as black women keep disproving them. For decades, the myth was, oh, other men don't want black women. Disproved. Then they shifted the myth to, well, they only want you for sex. They're not going to commit to you. Then the high-profile marriages of many unambiguous black women to prominent white men or non-black men, disproved that. So the narrative had to evolve again. And they tell you now, oh, he may marry you and even have children with you, but he'll leave you for a white woman. More on that later. But now that people can see long-lasting and happy interracial marriages of black women, there's a new myth that these other men can't provide for or protect you. And here are some familiar examples we're going to be deconstructing today. We will start with Toni Childs and Dr. Todd Garrett from Girlfriends. And the message here is that there's no such thing as a fairy tale and your happy ending is fake. So we all know the story of Toni and Todd. Toni was looking for financial security and love in a relationship, and she was vocal about dating any color man who could provide it. And Todd was a white man, a Beverly Hills plastic surgeon, who appreciated Toni's natural, unambiguous black girl beauty and said she didn't need any enhancements. After a whirlwind pampering courtship, he proposed with 4 massive diamonds and threw her a lavish wedding off the California coast. Then Toni found out that he put it all on his credit cards. He was broke and in debt from the wedding and medical school. Their marriage fell apart when he suspected he was cheating with his blonde white woman nurse, and Toni was left to go through pregnancy, which she never wanted, and raise their daughter Morgan by herself after a bitter custody battle. The message they want you to absorb is that those fairy tale endings you see black women getting with other men are fake. If other men commit to you quickly instead of making you wait 20 years for marriage like black men, it's because they're hiding something. And in the end, those men won't protect you or provide for you either. You'll still be left alone with the baby. Might as well stay with the black man. The game of this imagery is to turn the obvious positives we typically see in interracial relationships, like a quick legal commitment, money, stability, luxury life, being treated well, into negatives, to try to make black women doubt their ability to find happiness elsewhere. Girlfriends was the most massive black TV show on at the time, and it's become cultural zeitgeist. How many black women saw this and became afraid to try? And just as an aside, remember how Toni and Todd's relationship was built on insults? That always bothered me because that's typically a black man thing, men insulting women and calling it affection. This whole relationship, written by Mara Brock Akil, is just projection. Remember she did the show Black Love Is, and it was just about how much she suffered to marry an average man? She wants to scare you off from better prospects. Toni's marriage didn't last a year, and she was left a single mother. Who typically makes black women single mothers? Who saddles them with children and isn't there for them in the delivery room? Black men. It's ridiculous that we see all of these on-screen relationships ending in divorce and breakup when statistically, white man, black women marriages are the longest lasting unions. And don't even get me started on how Joan and them were encouraging Toni to financially support Greg, her broke black men painter boyfriend, for a year, which she did. But all of a sudden her marriage was doomed when she made more than her white man husband. Now, never support a man. That was a bad look in both situations. But I'm just pointing out how hypocritical the writing on the show is. Toni let Greg move in with her and handled all the bills, and that was called healthy and necessary for love. But as soon as she was trying to work on things with her husband, it suddenly couldn't work out. I also thought it was interesting. We saw very little of Todd when their relationship was going well. They didn't end up spending the holidays together, maybe because he's Jewish. And, you don't see them having a lot of good times. But when they were embroiled in the custody battle, you saw him in every single episode. Oh, how they had to fight constantly on screen. I also thought the cruelty of it was so gratuitous and over the top. So even though they're smiling in this picture, they end up getting divorced or breaking up in the delivery room right after she's had the baby, and he wasn't even present for the birth. Toni is, of course, rightfully upset and hurt. And the fact that Todd wasn't there was, again, more propaganda, because who misses their children's birth? They're together at this point. They're still married. They're working on their marriage. And he's not there because he's across the country. The whole thing is so ridiculous. But then they end up breaking up for good in the delivery room. More propaganda to make black women feel like, oh, the other man's not really going to be there for you. Even if he marries you, you're just going to be left alone to be a single mother the same way you would with a black man. Might as well stick with the devil you know. It's all about creating distrust in these relationships. And that leads us to the next big myth. Story of Mona and Nick on Half and Half, which is the white man may commit, but you can't trust him. So Mona dated black man after black man unsuccessfully for 3 seasons, and then she met Nick, a white man who shared her quirky spirit. Unfortunately, I can't tell you much else about him because he was barely on the screen the whole time they were dating. You saw Mona kiss Spence, her black man best friend, more than you ever saw her kiss Nick in the whole series. She would mention their dates, but you hardly ever saw them on a date on screen. This is also typical of the propaganda. They keep the non-black man two-dimensional and flat, not a holistic character you can relate to. They don't want you humanizing him. He's a prop they introduced to make a point about the evil white man. Anyway, he seemed to appreciate her and he proposed quickly. Seemed like a great match. But when he introduced her, sight unseen, to his parents, they were racist, and so she broke off the match. The message here is stick with the devil you know. Yeah, maybe this guy is giving you flowers and compliments and diamonds and begging you on his knees to marry him, but you'll never really know him. His parents or his family or somebody in his life is racist. Stick with the black man or else you'll get hurt. First of all, this storyline was so lame because Mona herself was mixed. Her grandmother, who you see on the show all the time, is a Jewish white woman. You mean to tell me that she and her black man husband never encountered racism in the 50s? It cracks me up how we always see black men pictured with white women in the media as far back as the 60s, and unless it's a message movie like Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, you never hear about how racism is going to affect their relationship. Even in the message movies, the white man father of the black man's love interest always comes around and gives his blessing, like Spencer Tracy in Guess Who's Coming to Dinner. But we're supposed to believe in the 21st century, all black women should forgo interracial dating because the possible racism is just insurmountable. These people are honestly sick. Just another not so subtle way to try to brainwash you into believing you have no options except to be a second or third choice for a black man. Interracial pairings are only acceptable when it's the black man with a non-black woman creating exotical girls. I've noticed this same dynamic on a lot of the older black TV shows. So take A Different World. Colonel Taylor is divorced from a white woman. His children are in college in the 90s, so that means he was married to her in the late 60s or 70s. This wasn't just any white woman. This was a German white woman. Okay, no problem there. Freddie, Cree Summers' character, is supposed to be mixed with a white mother you see on screen a few times. And she married a black man in the 60s. Perfectly fine. It was all good in the hood. But when dark-skinned, unambiguous Kim, pictured upper right corner, dates Freddie's white cousin, Matthew, who comes to Hillman, it's all of a sudden a problem. The whole campus is talking about it. So you mean to tell me in the 90s, a black woman is going to face insurmountable racial challenges dating a white man, but it's okay for a black man in the 60s to marry and have children with a white woman? No problems ever arise, even in the military. Okay, I have a bridge I want to sell you. But that's the thing. They want to keep you in fear and constant trepidation of what might happen. And the world's going to be talking about you. The world's going to be looking at you. And I want to be 100% clear. It's not black men spreading this propaganda. It's black women, for the most part, especially on these 90s shows. A Different World was being show run by Debbie Allen at this point. Remember when Kim had that pregnancy scare? It turned out to be nothing. Debbie Allen has said she wanted Kim to be a single mother. Thank God that ended up not happening. But you were more comfortable making her a single mother to a black man than, letting her have an interracial relationship that was successful? Madness. And the same thing happens on 90s shows like Moesha. In one of the early season episodes, Moesha goes out with a white guy she's known her whole life. So, he's not the big evil racist white man. That was her best friend since she was a little girl. And they're having a great time. But then her father has to warn her about how dangerous interracial dating is. And sure enough, they go out on a date and there's practically a riot because she goes on one date with a white boy. It's just too difficult. Yet her friend Hakeem dates a white passing Latina and a white girl with no issues whatsoever. The message is clear. They can do it. You can't. It's just propaganda, guys. Don't fall for it. But it's hard not to when we've been inculcated with this crap our whole lives. And it's not just the shows of the 90s. New myths are cropping up every day, like the movie with Viola Davis, Widows. I had to give you all the background and the history of all these earlier shows so we can get to the current myths. Widows came out in 2018. So these are the newer myths. Viola Davis, Liam Neeson, and the message here is the white man will endanger you. I was honestly impressed with how much of a reach this movie was. So in the film, Viola Davis and Liam have been married for nearly 20 years, and they're mourning the death of their teenage son who was killed in a police brutality incident. Liam dies too, apparently while involved in some illegal activity. So this leaves Viola in a horrible bind and awful danger. Her husband had been some kind of gangster, and he died in the middle of a job, which left him owing a lot of money, and the people who he owed it to came to Viola to collect. And if she didn't pay them, she was going to lose everything. Eventually, she decides to pull off the job of her own to provide for her needs and prevent retribution from her husband's cronies. It turns out Liam faked his own death to run off with a white woman who had his baby, attempting to leave Viola to hang for his crimes. He comes back to rob her once she completed the job, and he was going to leave her to take the fall. So the message here is white men do the same thing black men do. That's not the propaganda they want you to take away, but I was so pissed I couldn't think of a clever one. Who endangers black women and children daily? Not white men. Most black women who are in prison today are there because of some no-good man they were dating. Multiple black women and children are murdered daily in the black community, not by the white man. So to imply that when we leave this cesspool, then we're in danger is just beyond inaccurate, and it's highly offensive. But the mythology of this movie is really projection. This is what happens to black men. When black men make money and marry interracially, they most often divorce. Black men and white women are the highest divorce rate of any couple. And the white woman takes her new wealth and gets with a white man and has children. Look at the ex-wife of Tyler Woods. I want to say her name is Eileen Nordegren. She divorced him and took the majority of his money, good for her, and got with white man Dolphins player Jordan Cameron in short order. She had his baby in 2019, and rumors abound that there is a second bun in the oven. Black men are projecting, trying to get black women to think interracial dating is as poor an investment for us as it is for them. Let's examine the facts. Because of the gender wage gap, most men make more money than most women overall. We're not going to get taken. If anything, in a divorce, we're poised to do well. And in Widows, Liam had provided Viola with a posh lifestyle and a penthouse with all the finest things. So even if he really did leave after 20 years, she's still exponentially better off than she would have been as some baby mama. But in all these modern movies and TV shows about interracial dating, there's this disproportionate focus on police brutality outcomes that makes me extremely uncomfortable. In Widows, their mixed son is driving his father's fancy car, gets pulled over by police. They're asking for his license and whatnot, and he pulls the license and the policeman just, shoots him. And later, when Viola discovers Liam has left her for the other woman who's had his little white baby, he's like, oh, well, this will never happen to my new child. Like, basically, there's safety and security in this kind of marriage. We see the identical plot in American Son, which was made in 2019. The message seems to be the white man will get your children killed. I truly hope they stretch before this reach. So in American Son, Kerry Washington and her estranged white man husband meet in a Florida police station to try and locate their missing son, Jamal. So her husband is an FBI agent who has left Kerry for a white woman. You see how each myth builds on the one before it? This new idea is, oh, he may marry you, he might have children with you, but he's going to leave you one day for the white woman who he wanted all along. Ridiculous. Who does that? Black men. But anyway, anyhow, the police eventually admit Jamal and his two black men friends were in a car that they pulled over, but now they say they don't know where he is. It's no coincidence that the husband is an FBI agent. The message is, even with all his power and privilege, he is not capable of protecting his black son. And he and Kerry have to fight in the police station because he never understood the son to start with, because black manhood is so complicated and secretive. Blah, blah, blah. Jamal is never seen because he isn't the point of this little drama. The point is to have Kerry and the white man go back and forth about race in America and show that white man, black woman, interracial pairings can never really work out. The threat here is that by going interracial, you lose everything. Your child will die, your husband will leave you for a white woman, and the autumn of your years you'll be left with nothing. The white man can't protect his black son from the police trope is getting really popular. I have seen it, I can't tell you how many times recently. I've heard at least about 2 more projects coming up in the next year that deal with that. And we're supposed to stand in solidarity with black men because your white husband can't protect your black son. Tell me something. Can the black man protect your black son from police brutality? Has he done that? The black man can't even protect your child from black people. The black man hasn't given you a safe neighborhood to live in. This whole argument is just so ridiculous. I can't deconstruct it any further because it's so ludicrous. Black women have been unprotected for centuries on the world stage. But now we're saying enough. And leaving the community that harms us will cause us more danger. But now that we're leaving the place that actually causes us danger, people want to fearmonger. It's like when black women say they want to travel. Oh my God, don't go abroad. You might get sex trafficked. You're actually most in danger of that in the neighborhood you're currently in. Where are the hubs for sex trafficking black women? It's not Paris. It's not in Estonia. It's in Atlanta. Okay, it's in Miami. It's in Texas. Whenever black women want to focus on putting themselves first, what they tell you is, oh, you're going to be in danger if you leave. What? You're in danger if you stay. And all this really comes back to the black man's main argument, which is that divestment or putting yourself first, whatever you want to call it, it won't cure racism. In other words, they're pissed because they can't benefit. Unlike the civil rights movement, BLM, or the thousands of other movements where black women did the work and black men got all the credit, glory, and benefits, there's no way black men can profit from you putting yourself first. So they tell you it's a waste of time. Let me tell you something. Black men do not give 2 figs about curing racism. And that is why the women who they marry who are not black often stay getting exposed to their racist tweets, rants, blackface incidents. Remember the first Black Bachelor? The woman got exposed for doing blackface and saying, racial slurs, and they are still together to this day. These men do not care. They just don't want to see you putting yourself first because they want to have a fallback plan, And they hate to see it because it means if you're uplifting yourself, they're not going to profit. And since we're on the subject, you know what else? And since we're on the subject, you know what else will never cure racism against black women? Black men. What did black men say during the civil rights movement? Don't divide us by talking about black women's issues. Let us get free first. Then we're going to help you. Yeah, right. Remember when Black Lives Matter was founded by black women, yet the whole thing became about black men, and they had to start hashtag say her name to get a little attention for the black women killed by the police? Black men use racism as a convenient scapegoat, but no one cares less about misogynoir than them. That's discrimination specifically against black women. So don't follow the advice of anyone who's telling you come second or third or last. Now, lest anyone ever lie and say I uplifted white men, all men are trash, okay? This is just facts. All men must be vetted, and honestly, even then you're liable to get a dud because men suck. But this is about making better choices, and I have no clue how the men who have left black women with a 70% plus out of wedlock birth rate, or who have murdered black women until we have the highest homicide rate of any group in the nation, can have anything negative to say about that. These longer videos are an absolute bear to make, but I muddled through just for you guys. If you enjoyed them, please like and interact, comment, share, post, all that stuff, because I'd like to do more stuff in a longer format. I just have to know that there is an audience for it. And if you want to see more of anything, drop your suggestions below. Like and follow for more. Subscribe, please.